So today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going on a journey, but not to a place, to the inside of a mind. We're going to explore the psychology of absolute power, using a really fascinating literary analysis of one of history's most complex and controversial figures.
You know, it's a question that's fascinated people forever, right? What really happens to a person's mind when they have no limits, when their word is law and their paranoia can topple governments or end lives?
Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, our guide is this really cool pairing. We have a novel, Yasmina Khadra's The Dictator's Last Night, which is this intense fictional look at Gaddafi's last moments. And then we have an academic paper that actually analyzes that novel, using it like a window into a psychology. It's a pretty unique way to try and understand a mind that was so often hidden behind myth and propaganda.
All right, so the first big idea that this analysis pulls out is this: just incredible contradiction at the very heart of Gaddafi's character. He wasn't one simple thing. He was two completely different people, often at the exact same time.
And the paper has the perfect word for this, Janiformity. It comes from the old Roman god Janus, you know? The one with the two faces. One face looked to the past, the other to the future. It's this idea that two total opposites, good and evil, the creator and the destroyer, can live inside the very same person.
And when you put these two sides next to each other, the contrast is, well, it's just staggering. On one hand, you've got Gaddafi the benefactor. This is the guy who, as the analysis points out, took warring tribes and forged a nation. He took literacy from a mere 10% all the way up to 90%. He gave people free education, free healthcare. But then, there's the other side of the coin, the tyrant, the man who would hunt down and eliminate anyone who opposed him, a ruler who governed through absolute fear. It's this shocking duality that makes him such a puzzle.
And his quote from the novel, it just perfectly captures one of those faces. This is how he saw himself, or at least how he wanted to be seen, as a simple man of the desert, a humble Bedouin. This was a huge part of his identity, the meekest of lords.
And then you flip the coin and you get this. From the same man in the same story. Absolutely no remorse. Just pure, chilling rage at the people he believed had turned on him. The gap between these two statements, that's the psychological chasm the novel is exploring.
So you have this paradox on the outside, right? The big question is, what does that look like on the inside? Well, the analysis suggests that absolute power cooks up a very specific and very dangerous psychological cocktail.
And here's the kicker. These three things, megalomania, narcissism, and paranoia, they're not separate boxes. Nope, they all feed each other in this toxic loop. Your narcissism tells you you're the most important person alive, which fuels the megalomania, the belief that you're all-powerful. And of course, if you think you're all-powerful, you become deeply paranoid that everyone else is trying to take that power away.
I mean, you seriously couldn't make this up. It's the perfect example of that megalomania and narcissism rolled into one. He doesn't just say, "No, I'm not a megalomaniac." He says, "I'm an exceptional being. I am providence itself. Even the gods are jealous of me." It's just, wow.
And that's where the paranoia really sinks its teeth in. See, his ego is so massive, but also so incredibly fragile, that any challenge, even from his closest allies, the very people who helped create his legend, is a threat that has to be snuffed out. For a mind like this, the analysis says loyalty only lasts until the moment you're perceived as a threat. Then, you're gone.
And you know, a mindset like this doesn't just pop out of nowhere, right? The whole system is built to feed the beast. A cult of personality is created through non-stop propaganda. The leader's face is everywhere. The leader isn't just in charge of the state, the leader is the state. To question him is to commit treason against the entire nation.
So when you mix that fusion of man and state with this off-the-charts megalomania, where do you end up? Well, you end up at the most terrifying place of all, believing you're actually a god.
Just listen to this quote from the novel. It tells you everything you need to know. He doesn't see Libya as a country he leads. He sees it as a world he created. So the rebellion against him isn't a political event. To him, it's a cosmic betrayal. His own creation is rebelling against its creator.
It's like he's writing his own superhero, or maybe supervillain, origin story. The analysis points out how he sees himself as self-made, a man who literally willed himself into becoming the destiny of a nation. In his own mind, he's already left the realm of mere mortals. He's up there with the gods and legends of history.
And look, this wasn't just something he kept in his head. Oh no, he tried to make it the law of the land.
His political manifesto, the Green Book, wasn't just a book you could read. It was a book you had to read. It was treated like a holy text, the gospel for the new reality he was building.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've talked about the two faces, the psychological syndromes, the God complex. What does it all really tell us?
And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to get from all of this. The point of this whole analysis, this whole literary deep dive, is not to make you feel sorry for him. Not at all. The goal is to understand, to peel back the layers and see the psychological gears that are turning, the paradox, the paranoia, the narcissism that allow tyranny to happen in the first place.
At the end of the day, this whole thing leaves us with one huge, timeless question. Gaddafi's story is an extreme example, for sure, but it's a powerful warning about what absolute power can do. It really makes you wonder, how much pressure can a human mind take before it breaks? And what happens to a person's soul when it truly starts to believe it's a god?